He then went out to find some hay to feed the horse, after which master and disciple both retired with the old man and his household. The next morning, Wukong arose and woke up his master to get ready for the journey. Tripitaka dressed himself while Wukong put their luggage in order. They were about to leave when the old man brought in washing water and some vegetarian food, and so they did not set out until after the meal. Tripitaka rode his horse, with Pilgrim leading the way. They journeyed by day and rested by night, taking food and drink according to their needs. Soon it was early winter. You see, frost-blighted maples and the wizened trees. Few verdant pine and cypress still on the ridge. Budding plum blossoms spread their gentle scent. The brief, warm day. A little spring gift. But dying lilies yield to the lush wild tea. A cold bridge struggles against an old tree's bough. And gurgling water flows in the winding brook. Gray clouds, snow-laden, float throughout the sky. The strong, cold wind. Tears at the sleeve. How does one bear this chilly might of night? Master and disciple had traveled for some time when suddenly 6 men jumped out from the side of the road with much clamor, all holding long spears and short swords, sharp blades and strong bows. "Stop, monk!" they cried. "Leave your horse and drop your bag at once, and we'll let you pass on alive." Tripitaka was so terrified that his soul left him and his spirit fled. He fell from his horse, unable to utter a word. But Pilgrim lifted him up, saying, "Don't be alarmed, master. It's nothing really, just some people coming to give us clothes and a travel allowance." "Wukong?" said Tripitaka. "You must be a little hard of hearing. They told us to leave our bag and our horse, and you want to ask them for clothes and a travel allowance. You just stay here and watch our belongings," said Pilgrim. "And let Old Monkey confront them. We'll see what happens," Tripitaka said. "Even a good punch is no match for a pair of fists, and 2 fists can't cope with 4 hands. There are 6 big fellows over there, and you are such a tiny person. How can you have the nerve to confront them?" As he always had been audacious, Pilgrim did not wait for further discussion. He walked forward with arms folded and saluted the 6 men, saying, "Sirs, for what reason are you blocking the path of this poor monk?" "We are kings of the highway," said the men. "Philanthropic mountain lords. Our fame has long been known, though you seem to be ignorant of it. Leave your belongings at once, and you will be allowed to pass. If you but utter half a no, you'll be chopped to pieces. I have been also a great hereditary king and a mountain lord for centuries," said Pilgrim. "But I have yet to learn of your illustrious names. So you really don't know?" One of them said. "Let's tell you then. One of us is named Eye that sees and delights. Another, Ear that hears and rages. Another, Nose that smells and loves. Another, Tongue that tastes and desires. Another, Mind that perceives and covets. And another, Body that bears and suffers. You are nothing but 6 hairy brigands," said Wukong laughing, "who have failed to recognize in me a person who has left the family, your proper master. How dare you bar my way? Bring out the treasures you have stolen so that you and I can divide them into 7 portions. I'll spare you then." Hearing this, the robbers all reacted with rage and amusement, covetousness and fear, desire and anxiety. They rushed forward crying, "You reckless monk! You haven't a thing to offer us, and yet you want us to share our loot with you." Wielding spears and swords, they surrounded Pilgrim and hacked away at his head 70 or 80 times. Pilgrim stood in their midst and behaved as if nothing were happening. "What a monk!" said one of the robbers. "He really does have a hard head." "Passably so," said Pilgrim, laughing. "But your hands must be getting tired from all that exercise. It's about time for Old Monkey to take out his needle for a little entertainment. This monk must be an acupuncture man in disguise," said the robber. "We're not sick. What's all this about using a needle?" Pilgrim reached into his ear and took out a tiny embroidery needle. One wave of it in the wind and it became an iron rod with the thickness of a rice bowl. He held it in his hands, saying, "Don't run. Let Old Monkey try his hand on you with this rod." The 6 robbers fled in all directions, but with great strides he caught up with them and rounded all of them up. He beat every one of them to death, stripped them of their clothes, and seized their valuables. Then Pilgrim came back smiling broadly and said, "You may proceed now, master. Those robbers have been exterminated by Old Monkey." "That's a terrible thing you have done," said Tripitaka. "They may have been strong men on the highway, but they would not have been sentenced to death, even if they had been caught and tried. If you have such abilities, you should have chased them away. Why did you slay them all? How can you be a monk when you take life without cause? We who have left the family should keep ants out of harm's way when we sweep the floor, and put shades on lamps for the love of moths. How can you kill them just like that, without regard for black or white? You showed no mercy at all. It's a good thing that we are here in the mountains, where any further investigation will be unlikely. But suppose someone offends you when we reach a city and you perpetrate violence again, hitting people indiscriminately with that rod of yours, would I be able to remain innocent and get away scot-free?" "Master," said Wukong, "if I hadn't killed them, they would have killed you." Tripitaka said, "As a priest, I would rather die than practice violence. If I were killed, there would be only one of me, but you slaughtered 6 persons. How can you justify that? If this matter were brought before a judge, and even if your old man were the judge, you certainly would not be able to justify your action." "To tell you the truth, master," said Pilgrim, "when I, Old Monkey, was king on the Flower Fruit Mountain 500 years ago, I killed I don't know how many people. I would not have been a great sage equal to heaven if I had lived by what you are saying. It's precisely because you had neither scruples nor self-control," said Tripitaka, "unleashing your waywardness on earth and spreading outrage in heaven, that you had to undergo this ordeal of 500 years. Now that you have entered the fold of Buddhism, if you still insist on practicing violence and indulge in the taking of life as before, you are not worthy to be a monk, nor can you go to the Western Heaven. You're wicked. You're just too wicked." Now this monkey had never in all his life been able to tolerate scolding. When he heard Tripitaka's persistent reprimand, he could not suppress the flames leaping up in his heart. "If that's what you think," he said, "if you think I'm not worthy to be a monk, nor can I go to the Western Heaven, you needn't bother me further with your nagging. I'll leave and go back." Before Tripitaka had time to reply, Pilgrim was already so enraged that he leapt into the air, crying only, "Old Monkey's off." Tripitaka quickly raised his head to look, but the monkey had already disappeared, trailed only by a swishing sound fading fast toward the east. Left by himself, the priest could only shake his head and sigh. "That fellow. He's so unwilling to be taught. I only said a few words to him. How could he vanish without a trace and go back just like that? Well, well, well. It must be also that I am destined not to have a disciple or any other companion, for now I couldn't even call him or locate him if I wanted to. I might as well go on by myself." So, he was prepared to lay down his life and go toward the west, to be his own master and on none rely. The elder had little alternative but to pack up his bag and put it on the horse, which he did not even bother to mount. Holding his staff in one hand and the reins in the other, he set off sadly toward the west. He had not traveled far when he saw an old woman before him on the mountain road, holding a silk garment and a cap with a floral design. When Tripitaka saw her approach, he hastened to pull his horse aside for her to pass. "Elder, where do you come from?" asked the old woman. "And why are you walking here all by yourself?" Tripitaka replied, "Your child was sent by the great king of the land of the East to seek true scriptures from the living Buddha in the Western Heaven. The Buddha of the West," said the old woman, "lives in the great temple of Thunderclap in the territory of India. and the journey there is 108,000 miles long. You are all by yourself, with neither a companion nor a disciple. How can you possibly think of going there? A few days ago, said Tripitaka, I did pick up a disciple, a rather unruly and headstrong character. I scolded him a little, but he refused to be taught and disappeared. The old woman said, I have here a silk shirt and a flower cap inlaid with gold, which used to belong to my son. He had been a monk for only 3 days when unfortunately he died. I have just finished mourning him at the temple, where I was given these things by his master to be kept in his memory. Father, since you have a disciple, I'll give the shirt and the cap to you. I'm most grateful for your lavish gifts, said Tripitaka. But my disciple has left. I dare not take them. Where did he go? Asked the old woman. Tripitaka replied, I heard a swishing sound heading toward the east. My home is not too far away in the east, said the old woman. And he may be going there. I have a spell which is called the true words for controlling the mind, or the tight fillet spell. You must memorize it secretly. Commit it firmly to your memory, and don't let anyone learn of it. I'll try to catch up with him and persuade him to come back and follow you. When he returns, give him the shirt and the cap to wear. And if he again refuses to obey you, recite the spell silently.